Hello, my name is Clarissa, and I'm going to show you everything that I used my tasting cards for at Knott's Boysenberry Festival 2024. This is also going to be an honest review, so stick around. It is all in the name, Knott's Berry Farm, and this berry farm has been located in Buena Park, California for over 100 years. And what made them famous, of course, is the boysenberry. So why not celebrate it with our annual Boysenberry Festival and all of the fun things you can do with one. But first you'll need a tasting card, and one of my favorite locations to find one is at Spurs because there's hardly ever a line. I cannot claim this tip as my own. This came directly from one of my favorite theme park podcasts, Theme Park Days. Now, with your handy-dandy tasting card, you can select 6 items of your choice. There are multiple booths around the park. Fortunately, there's a map on the back, and all of the menu items are printed on the card for you to decide what you want to spend your 6 tastings on. This is a tough choice. My first stop was the Gold Mine Trail booth. I was really intrigued by the chicken tikka masala with boysenberry curry sauce over steamed white rice on their menu. This was a great place to start. This was a good first option. I was pleasantly surprised. I did not know what to expect, but let me tell you, if they have this again, I highly recommend it. My friends decided to go with the boysenberry barbecue beef barbacoa on mac and cheese with green onions. You can never go wrong at Knott's with their mac and cheese. It is always going to be good. I'm always so surprised to see all of the different ways a boysenberry can be used and all of the unique ways it can be either sweet or savory. And if you don't know what a boysenberry is, it is actually a cross between the red raspberry, blackberry, and loganberry. I know, so crazy, but it just works. Walter Knott himself actually began propagating this curious plant in the early 1930s. Back to the festival, however, you know I'm a sucker for a good photo op, and there are tons scattered throughout the park. One of the coolest things about the Knott's tasting cards is that you can use one of your 6 tastings on alcoholic beverages. So let's go to our next selection at Wilderness Dance Hall patio booth. First, I was very excited to try the pork loin slices over mashed potatoes with a creamy boysenberry mustard sauce. It sounded great on paper. I was very excited for it, and this was actually one of my lowest rated items of the day. Individually, all of these items shone, but together, for some reason, it did not work. The pork and the sauce were okay together. The sauce by itself was great. The pork by itself was great. But then the mashed potatoes and the sauce did not go together at all. Anyway, I could go on for days. It was just not one of my favorites. This was not a great booth for me because I also got my lowest rated item from the same booth, which was the boysenberry sangria with an orange slice. I don't know how you mess sangria up, but this was terrible. I really did not enjoy it. I could not finish it. I gifted it to a friend. It was not my favorite. It didn't even taste like sangria, honestly. It was dry red wine on ice. It was just awful. Okay, let's switch gears from worst to best. At Miner's Mac and Spuds, my favorite of the whole season was the double stuffed baked potato with boysenberry barbecue pulled pork and green onions. This I always get with extra sour cream, and this is something I still dream about. I wish they put it on the permanent menu. I think I might have gotten 4 of these during the entire season, and I wish I got more. Honestly, this is one of those things I would eat every single time if they had it on the permanent menu. I loved it. Everybody else I talked to loved it. My husband loved it. He's usually very picky about potatoes. Loved it. Okay, this is a yes, indefinitely. I really could go on about the potato, so I'm just going to stop myself and move on to our next location on the tasting card, which is the Prop Shop Pizzeria. As annual pass holders with a dining plan, this is usually one of our favorite places to eat at the parks anyway, so I was really hoping that I would love everything I got here. That was true for one of the items. Well, that's not really fair to say. Both of the items I got here were very mid-ranged for me. Neither were at the top or at the bottom of my list, but they were just kind of in the middle there. One of the items is the boysenberry layered no-bake cheesecake cup. I had high hopes for this. It sounded phenomenal. It looked really cute, but as you can see, this is not really practical. You have to go through a very dry, crumbly crust all the way to the bottom and kind of mix it up yourself, or you're just not going to get a good bite. Next was the boysenberry sausage and hot honey pizza with ricotta and basil. This was relatively good. Now again, this was not at the top of my list, nowhere near, but it wasn't at the bottom of my list either. In my opinion, it had too much basil. It could have used a little bit more sausage. The hot honey had a nice kick to it. I know this was a fan favorite for most. It was just kind of mid, and maybe I didn't get a good slice. That's valid too. Sometimes they kind of just sit out. My husband really enjoyed it. It was not at the top of my list. But let's go back to the top of my list because there's more. At Ghost Town Grub, they had the mini funnel cake with boysenberry ice cream and powdered sugar. Now, I got this both ways. I got one with just the boysenberry soft serve and powdered sugar, and then another time I went back and they also had a boysenberry preserve sauce, something like that on top as well. I liked it both ways. Honestly, you can never go wrong with a boysenberry soft serve. It is just sweet enough, and it's just so soft and airy and just wonderful. And then the funnel cakes at Knott's, you can never go wrong with. Funnel cakes at Knott's are always going to be good. I can put my stamp of approval on it. I've tried many. They were never not good. This, however, I don't think necessarily constitutes mini in most situations, but compared to other Knott's funnel cakes, I guess you could say mini, but it was still large enough for 4 people to share, and we were still struggling to finish it. Another great thing about the tasting cards at Knott's is you don't have to finish them all in one visit. You can use one scan, one visit, come back another visit, scan 3 more, and so on and so forth. So we came back time after time, and one of those times we enjoyed the Grizzly Creek Lodge. They had a breakfast sandwich on the menu with boysenberry hollandaise. It sounded disgusting to me because I'm not a hollandaise fan. However, it just still somehow worked. I don't know how the boysenberry does it, but it just did. It worked, and it was phenomenal, and this was one of my top rated items. It was amazing. Knott's always knocks it out of the park with their baked goods. I went to the Ghost Town Bakery during one of my visits and tried the boysenberry and chocolate stuffed cookie. This was not great, honestly. But to redeem that not so good cookie, I did have 2 more that were phenomenal and also toward the top of my list at the Chow House. One was the boysenberry gourmet cookie a la mode. This was on the tasting card, and the other was not on the tasting card but was well worth your $1. It was the ice cream sandwich. The gourmet cookie had more of a white chocolate taste to it. It was very sweet. It was very soft and airy. There was a lot to it. They're always pretty big. I, however, preferred the sugar cookie that came with the ice cream sandwich. Well, I guess 2 sugar cookies, which now that I mention it is actually a phenomenal deal. If you're jonesing for a Knott's sugar cookie, instead of paying for just the cookie at the bakery, go get yourself an ice cream sandwich instead, because then you get 2 cookies and some boysenberry ice cream sandwiched in between those 2 cookies for pretty much the same price. So that's my little deal of the day, if you will. And again, this was not a part of the tasting card, but I would happily spend the money on it because it was well worth it. And again, very, very shareable. For the sake of a good review, I wanted to give the alcoholic beverages another try, but I am sad to announce that next year I will not be spending any of my tasting card items on alcoholic beverages because I just feel like I striked out both times I tried. This was the boysenberry punch and pineapple juice rum runner that I got from the Wilderness Dance Hall. And sadly, I don't know, again, how you can mess up either the boysenberry punch or pineapple juice or rum for that matter, but none of this worked. It was a no from me. It was way too strong, but my husband enjoyed it, so I guess there's a plus in that. So before I leave you with some of the amazing nighttime spectacular entertainment, I decided to show you my ranked list. I feel like I got a decent variety of food, drinks, and desserts, and I ranked them in terms of what I liked most to what I liked least. And some of these items I've gone back for multiple times, so that says a lot. There it is.